The next day, Emilie thinks about texting Robbie for a ride. She decides to just take the bus, but he pulls into her driveway just as she's heading out of the door. "I thought you might work today," he says from the driver's side. "Yeah," she says reluctantly. "Hop in," he says, opening the door. "So, are you just going to drive up and down my street waiting to give me a lift?" she says, getting in the car. "If you go 2 blocks that way and make a left on Vista, I'm right there. I told you, it wasn't out of the way." Her whole shift at work, she thinks about Robbie. There was something about him that interested her. She wasn't sure if it was just that he was a good-looking guy or the fact that he was different, like her. Every time she thought about distancing herself from him, he popped up. The same went for Robbie. Ever since he sold his soul, he had changed. He didn't have time for his social life, and his personal life was barely even a life. It was hard enough keeping his secret from Gabe, but then again, with Emilie, they had the same secret. It was kind of a relief to know that he didn't have to hide himself from someone. "Robbie," says Canelo. "Your girlfriend is back," giving him a hard time. Robbie walks into the lobby and sees Emilie with a bag of food and drinks. "Hungry?" she asks, holding up the bag. "I could use a bite," he smiles. "You didn't have to bring me anything." "I didn't feel like eating alone today. And since you wouldn't take any gas money, I figured you could let me buy you lunch." They step outside to the back of the shop and sit on one of the junk cars to eat. They sit in silence for a few minutes before Emilie starts giggling. "What's so funny?" asks Robbie, who starts to laugh too. "We're so socially awkward." "So don't make it awkward," he says. "Why do I have to be the awkward one? You're the one whose head catches on fire." She smiles. He laughs. "How about we just go with it? Pretend we aren't who we are and see where the conversation takes us," he suggests. They finish eating and he tells her he'll be waiting for her after work to take her home. The next couple of days, Robbie gives her a ride to work and they start getting more comfortable hanging out. One night around 1 a.m., Emilie hears a knock on the door. She gets up to see who it is and sees Robbie through the peephole. "Robbie?" She opens the door, half asleep. "Oh my God, are you okay?" He is posted up against the door frame, bleeding. "Yeah," he says, leaning on the doorway. "Can I come in?" He walks in wobbling, and she helps him over to the kitchen chair. "Is this all your blood?" she asks, concerned. "No, but this is..." He removes his jacket and his white undershirt is torn on the left, dripping red. "Robbie, you need a doctor." "No, I'll be fine. I just..." Removing his jacket in pain. "I can't sneak in the house and risk Gabe seeing me like this. I'll be fine. I just need a minute." "I'll be right back." She pours him a glass of water and runs to the bathroom to grab a couple of rags. She runs some hot water in the sink and fills up a pot. "I hope you're not attached to this shirt." She starts cutting it off. "What happened?" "I was out, found a group of guys beating on some homeless junkie down an alley. I thought the rider took care of them all, but another snuck up behind me and stabbed me." Emilie wipes the blood from around the wound and sees his body twitching and throbbing as it attempts to heal itself. "Looks like you have it handled from here." "This one's pretty deep. It's gonna take a minute," he says, leaning back in the chair. She looks at his face as he tries to fight the pain. "Let me get you something stronger." She takes his glass of water and pours it out. She then fills it with ice and whiskey before pouring herself a small glass. "That should take the edge off," she says, handing him the glass. She sits down across from him. "You sure know the way to a man's heart," he says, taking a big sip. "How have you been keeping this from Gabe?" "Usually it's just a scratch or something I can hide. By the next day, I'm fine." He finishes off his drink. "Perks of making a deal with the devil." "Is that how you became the ghostwriter?" "Yeah," he says, wincing as he sits back. "Need a refill?" she asks. "Nah, I think I've lost too much blood," he laughs. I think it's already catching up to me. Lightweight. Just please don't combust in my kitchen. She grabs the pot with the bloody rags and takes them over to the sink. She grabs his jacket and tries to clean some of the blood off. When she looks back at him, his head is on the table, looking at the ground starry-eyed. I think I poured you too much. Maybe you should rest a bit before heading home. There is no way she was letting him drive home. She grabs a blanket and pillow and walks back into the kitchen. Robbie, she calls, trying to wake him. He says, sliding around in the chair. Come on. She helps him up and walks him over to the couch. His wound had stopped bleeding. She helps him lay down and pulls the blanket over him. She turns to walk away, and he grabs her hand. Where are you going? He says, slurring his words. To bed. You lost too much blood and drank too much. Get some sleep. I don't get a good night kiss? He asks. Emilie looks at him with a side eye and decided to humor his drunken stupor with a kiss on the forehead. He grabs the back of her head as she pulls away and holds it close to his. She can feel his warm breath tickling her skin. Good night, Robbie, she says nervously, wondering if he's going to let her go. His eyes slowly close and his grip loosens as he passes out. She walks to her room and closes the door, her neck still tingling from his breath, and unsure of what may have happened had he not passed out. Robbie wakes early the next day before Emilie gets up. He sends her a text saying thank you, but never mentioned the kiss. She figured he probably didn't remember. Since it was her off day, she decided to head over to the grocery store. Bad weather was expected to come through, and she didn't want to get stuck in it waiting for the bus. It was a quick trip, but as soon as she finished shopping, it was pouring down rain. Great, she says, stepping back inside. Looks like I'm not going anywhere either, says the boy next to her in a wheelchair. Well, maybe it won't last long. At least I hope not, she says. He pulls out his phone and 3 guys come walking in, rowdy and loud. One grabs a bag of chips and opens it, while the other 2 go down the beer aisle. Hey, you gonna pay for that? Asks the clerk. I don't know. Maybe, he says. Hey man, how many are we getting? Says one of the guys in the back. Whatever you can carry, dude. They bring up 3 cases of beer. The second guy grabs a handful of Slim Jims and walks up to the clerk. Will that be all? The clerk says, anxious to get them out of the store. Yeah, I think that's everything. Except what you have in the register. He pulls out a gun and points it at the clerk. The clerk then opens the register and hands over the money. Just then, the guy with the Slim Jims notices Emilie and the boy by the door. Hey, what do you think you're doing? You calling the cops? She looks down and sees the boy's phone in his lap. The guy walks over and snatches it. I was trying to text my brother for a ride, says the boy. Yeah, right. He throws the boy's phone on the ground and smashes it. He didn't call anyone, just leave him alone. The guy grabs Emilie by the arm and walks her over to the counter. The guy with the gun points it at her. She keeps eye contact with him, but notices something funny about his gun. It was a fake and had been spray painted to look more realistic. Give me the money in the safe too, or I blow her brains out all over the store. Don't, she says. What did you say? He holds the gun to the bottom of her chin. Then her phone starts to ring in her purse next to the boy. All 3 guys look, and Emilie grabs a jar of spare change on the counter and smashes it into the guy's head. The store owner reaches above the register and pulls down a shotgun. Drop it, he yells at the man. He glances over at Emilie. Call the police. She calls, and 2 patrol cars arrive within 5 minutes. They cuff the men and load them into the cars before taking statements. Emilie looks outside. Looks like the rain stopped. And here comes my brother, says the boy. Robbie pulls up and looks at the police cars. What happened? You okay? He looks over and sees Emilie grabbing her groceries. Emilie? Is everything okay? Yeah, everything's fine. You know her? Asked the boy. Yeah, this is Emilie. She works up the street from Canelo's. You must be Gabe, she says, reaching out for a handshake. Hop in. I'll give you a ride home. Robbie grabs the groceries from her hands and then helps Gabe get into the car. They pull up to her house, and Robbie gets out to grab her bags. I can carry them. It's cool. I got it, he insists. Hey, Robbie, can we get a burger on the way home? We don't have anything worth eating at the house. Why don't you stay for dinner? Asked Emilie. They both look at her. Don't answer all at once. I'm just making chili. I don't know if tonight is a good night, replies Robbie. I do, says Gabe. If you want to go run the streets, that's on you. You can come get me when you're done. Robbie looks at Gabe, then Emilie. Looks like we're staying for dinner. It doesn't take long for her to cook, and they all sit at the table chatting. So how did you meet Robbie? Asked Gabe. He helped me out with a ride one day after I missed my bus. Gabe gives Robbie a smile. Don't give me that look, he says. Gabe then returns the look back at Emilie. So, you guys hang out often? It's not like that. Besides, why would I hang out with your loser brother? He's always working, she jokes. Tell me about it. Hey, I work hard so you can hit those books and learn how to work smart. Yeah. And one day, you're gonna go back to school and hit some books. You know I work better with my hands. Besides, I do good at Canelo's. So good you gotta run the streets all night too? Responds Gabe. There's an awkward silence for a moment. Hey, Em, is it okay if I turn on the TV? There's a game I wanted to catch. Sure, she says, taking a sip of her drink. Robbie can help me put everything away. Gabe wills himself into the living room and turns on the TV, while Robbie helps her put everything away. She notices Gabe's words really upset him. Hey, she puts her hand on his shoulder. He doesn't understand. Yeah, but he's not wrong. I mean, I'm almost never home. If I'm not working, I'm out doing, I'm all he's got, but I'm never around. He needs you there for support. My parents died when I was young in a fire. I have no living family. I was in and out of foster care. When I turned 17 and graduated, a lawyer came to my foster parents' house. He gave me an envelope. Inside was a photo, a letter, and a key to a storage unit. She grabs a picture of her with her parents. I was 3 when this was taken. This is all I have to remember their faces. Where are your foster parents now? They don't get a check for caring anymore. She puts the photo back. What was in the storage unit? He asks. She smiles. Come with me. She grabs her drink and they step outside around the house to an old wooden garage. She lifts open the door and inside is a car with a cover. Robbie looks at her, then at the car. Pull it off, she insists, stepping back as he slides the dusty cover off the car. Damn. He runs his hands across the hood of a '69 Mustang. That was left to me in the storage unit with an envelope containing banking information for a fund my parents set up. It was my dad's. I remember him spending hours detailing it. What's wrong with it? I don't know. I drove it a couple of times. It makes a funny noise when you shift. You should let me take a look at it sometime. He walks over to her and rests against the car. The point I'm trying to make, Robbie, is I know how Gabe is feeling. He just wants to share his life with his brother. I have a picture and a car to remember my parents. What little memories I have of them grow faded more and more as time passes. He has you now. Don't let his memories of time spent with you fade before you're even gone. Robbie looks at Emilie and takes a step closer. He places one hand on her face and kisses her. When he pulls away, he looks her in her eyes. Emilie blushes for a second, and they walk back in the house to find the game ending. All right, bro. Think we should call it a night. Ready when you are. Thanks for dinner, Em. I got you next time. What you got? Jokes Robbie. I got more cooking skills than Robbie, just in case he ever tries to cook for you. Bye, guys, she laughs, as she lets them out and closes the door behind them. Later that night, while lying in bed, she gets a text from Robbie. You up? He asked. Yeah, you out? She replies. No, I'm home. Just can't sleep. Yeah, me either. I was thinking about that kiss. I hope I wasn't overstepping. No. She inserts a smiley face emoji. It was nice. I want you to know I really like you. It's just complicated with me. I know. I can't really commit. I understand. But I don't want you to feel like I'm trying to take advantage of you. I know you're not. The kiss was fine. I really didn't mind. I was kind of wanting one more before you left, she admits. I won't leave you hanging next time. I'll let you get some sleep. I just wanted to get that off my chest. I'll drive you to work tomorrow, but I gotta leave town for a few days. Job stuff. Would you mind checking in on Gabe for me? Sure. I'll see you tomorrow. The next day, Robbie takes her to work, and before she can get out of the car, he grabs her arm. She looks over at him, and he gives her another kiss. So you just gonna leave me hanging? He asks with a flirty smile. Have a safe trip, she says, smiling back. She walks into the clinic, and one of her co-workers shoots her a look. Who's the hunk in the car? She asks. A friend, Emilie replies, blushing. When she gets home that evening, she shoots Gabe a text to check on him. He messages her back to let her know he just finished up at the library and was heading home with some friends. Emilie goes to take out the trash and sees a truck parked down the street with a suspicious guy sitting in the driver's seat. She tries not to pay too much attention and walks back inside, locking the door behind her. The next day, when she gets off the bus to work, she sees the same truck, but this time they drive by and don't stop. When she gets to the clinic, she shoots Robbie a text to ask him how work is going, but doesn't get a response. Then a text comes through from Gabe asking if she has dinner plans for tomorrow night and invites her over. Robbie finishes up some work and pulls out his phone to check his messages. He hesitates to reply and decides not to before putting his phone back in his pocket. Later that day, walking home from the bus stop, Emilie sees the truck again. This time, there are two guys, and she decides to call the cops. She peeks out of the window a few minutes later and sees a patrol car drive up behind the truck. The driver and the officer speak for a few minutes, and then the truck leaves. While driving past, she sees the passenger lean over and take a good look at her house. She doesn't recognize either of the men. The officer hangs around the neighborhood for a few more minutes and then drives off. The following night, she meets Gabe at their house. Wow, it smells really good in here, she says, walking in. Thanks, I'm making lasagna. My favorite. Make yourself comfortable. She takes off her jacket and looks around the house. Is this you and little Robbie? She asks, looking at a photo of the two boys on a swing set. Yeah, I was like 4. Robbie used to push me so high, I thought I was going to slingshot into the neighbor's yard. Have you heard from him since he left? Asked Emilie, a little concerned. Nah, but usually when he goes out of town, I don't hear much until he pulls back into the driveway. Just then, they hear Robbie's Charger pull in. Speak of the devil, he says. Robbie walks in, surprised to see Emilie. Hey, what's going on? He says, tossing his keys on the side table. I invited her over for dinner. I made lasagna, which should be done. Gabe goes into the kitchen to check on the food, and Robbie walks over and kisses her. You're getting used to doing that. Everything okay? She asks. Yeah, everything's fine. I'm sorry I didn't text you back. I was just busier than usual. Gabe calls them in to eat. The food was great, and so was the conversation. Robbie's phone beeps and interrupts their laughing. I have to go. I'll be right back, though. Just have to take something to the shop. Robbie gets up from the table and goes to the back of the house. He comes back a few minutes later with a black bat before grabbing his keys and heading out. Emilie and Gabe sit at the table talking a few more minutes before she helps him clean up. You really don't have to worry about that. I can take care of it, says Gabe. It's no problem, she insists as she washes a few of the dishes. If you want to see more pics of little Robbie, I have a few I'm sure he'd be happy you didn't see. Better hurry up before he gets back, she urges. Gabe goes into his room and starts rummaging through a couple of old photo albums. I know I have a pic of him in a diaper racing around on his Power Wheel. Oh, you have got to find that one, she says. Emilie looks up at the window in the front of the sink and sees a shadow go by the kitchen window.